Who's in town?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Podcast The Sequel, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the continued. My name is Joseph.
I'm Manira.
And continuing the theme of February being, I guess, Valentine's Love Couples Month, we're back. Second week in a row. And still talking about Bridget Jones, because on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Bridget Jones's Baby, the third installment in the Bridget Jones series. But before we get into that, let's recap a little bit what we thought about the first two films.
I mean, honestly, like I said it, I love Bridget Jones. I grew up watching Bridget Jones. To me, Bridget Jones speaks nostalgia to me as honestly, if I remember correctly, probably one of the first rom-com movies I watched growing up. It holds a special place in my heart. I've constantly watched Bridget Jones and Bridget Jones' Edge of Reason throughout my entire life. The second one, honestly, did not age as well.
Oh, God, no. Yeah.
When we rewatched it, I think it's more so just the Thailand aspect of it. I was just, I could have done without it. And then the third one, Bridget Jones's Baby, I've only seen twice before our rewatch, and it holds a special place in my heart too. But we'll talk about that later. But I love Bridget Jones. I always have a good time watching Bridget Jones' Diary and Bridget Jones' Edge of Reason. It's always just a good time. It's fun watching her. She's a relatable character. She's messy. She's awkward. She's quirky. The British humor, I don't always understand it, but it gets to me. It's a special place for me. What about you?
Yeah, I really did enjoy the first one. Again, I give major props to Renee Zellweger's physical comedy that she portrays in the first one. She does a really good job. I think she's the funniest aspect, and and obviously the story's about her, and she does a really great job portraying that character. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. Hugh Grant and Colin Firth they're great too. Second one though, it's rough. It got ridiculous and just so pointless, and where the first one is grounded and it's just Bridget being awkward and physical comedy again. This one was just we're taking her here and we're taking her there. It just committed a lot of sequel sins that a lot of sequels eventually do. I was not a big fan of the second one. Really enjoyed the first one. I was very upset and it bothered me, but I was kind of let down, I guess, watching the second one because I really did have a good time watching the first. So that's why I was very excited to get to the third, because you had already whispered to me that the third one is a little bit better. So going into it, I was hoping for that, and we'll get into it when we get into it. But yeah, first one, big high. Second one had a big drop. So going into part 3, I was hoping it would have an uptick.
Yeah. So the one thing I do want to say is that, obviously, we talked about it in the last week's episode. Bridget Jones's Diary is based on a book series that the author wrote. In the book series, so it's a 4-part book series, Bridget Jones's Baby is actually the last book. So the new movie that came out, Bridget Jones Mad About the Boy, that's actually the 3rd book. And Bridget Jones's Baby is the finale to Bridget Jones's saga story.
But how would that make sense?
I've never seen Mad About the Boy. I'm assuming they changed it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I have thoughts about how Bridget Jones' saga should have ended.
The saga.
And I will get into it when we talk about the ending of Bridget Jones's Baby. But I thought that was interesting that they didn't go 3rd book, make it into a movie, and then go 4th book, make that into a movie. They kind of switched the 3rd to 4th.
The old switcheroo.
Which also kind of makes me curious as, how does Mad About a Boy end? Because that's it. That's the ending of Bridget Jones' story.
Well, yeah, and that just was released on Peacock, so we would have to check that out eventually.
I'm excited.
Well, yeah,
it kind of actually makes me want to watch it.
We have to complete the saga.
We do have to complete the saga of Bridget Jones. But shall we get into it?
Yeah.
Hit us with the budget.
Yeah, a few facts. Sharon Maguire's back directing. She did not direct the second one. She directed the first one.
Okay.
So she's back to direct the third one, which...
So another female.
Yeah, another female. So like you said in the last episode that you like that recurring theme. But I think her returning will play into my review.
Okay.
Because second one, meh. First one, love. Now the first director's back for the third one. We'll get into it. But the budget was $35 million and a box office of $212 million. Okay. So the first movie, the first Bridget Jones made over $300 million.
Okay.
The second one was in the middle of the $200 millions. and this one's at 212 million. In total, these three movies ended up making a 700+ million dollars.
Which honestly not that bad for a rom-com.
No.
Not that bad for a rom-com. I think with this one, obviously it's been 12 years since the second movie came out and the third one. So Bridget Jones.
It's a 6-year hiatus.
6 years?
Right? Yeah.
I thought it was.
Oh, no. The film marked Zellweger's return.
Yes, she quit acting for a while.
She took a 6-year break.
And she came back for this one, which I looked into it once I found out that she took the hiatus. She continued acting after the third Bridget Jones. She had like a movie like a year, and then I don't know if she took a break like during COVID times or whatever. But now she came back again for the latest installment for Bridget. So I think, which honestly makes me happy because I can't picture anyone else being Bridget Jones. I think she is the perfect embodiment of Bridget Jones, and I think her coming back to Bridget Jones, just coming back to acting for Bridget Jones, just always makes me excited because I love Bridget Jones.
Yeah,
she's awkward, she's memorable, she's a memorable character, and honestly, I don't think anyone would do Bridget Jones justice the way that Renee Zellweger did her justice.
I agree with that.
Did this one have a cinema score?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Continue.
No worry. So with this one, Bridget Jones, we ended up Bridget Jones, Edge of Reason. She's in her early 30s. I believe she was like 32, 33 in this one. 12 years has passed.
Since the events of the
second one. So now Bridget Jones is 43 years old. And this is where her story takes off, her journey to motherhood. What was the cinema score?
B+.
B+?
Solid.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the B+.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm okay with it. I think B+ is solid for this movie. I think it's not the perfect movie, but I think it's a solid step up from the last one.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the rating was for the second one.
B+ as well. I just pulled the Jamie and pulled it up. It was a B+ as well.
That kind of hurts me.
It does hurt me as well because I definitely have a preference between the two.
Yes.
I would have gave Edge of Reason
a B-.
Edge of Reason. Oh, I'm like at a C- with that film. I'm at a C- with it. I would probably be at an A- for the first Bridget Jones.
Yes.
A C- for Bridget Jones, Edge of Reason, and if I had to give it a grade for Bridget Jones's Baby at this current moment, I am at a B.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what's really hard for me? I love the Bridget Jones series. I love Bridget Jones's Diary. Bridget Jones's Baby holds a special place in my soul for this entire series. I'm actually like, while rewatching it again with you, I actually found myself like second guessing which one do I actually enjoy more.
Really,
is it Diary or is it Baby? And I'm at a very big toss up because
Baby girl.
They're both equally good to me. I think honestly the one thing that I liked about Bridget Jones's Baby is I can honestly believe this is exactly what Bridget Jones's life would be like as a 43-year-old single woman entering her motherhood.
The way it played out.
Yes.
Like if she was going to get pregnant, it had to be this specific way.
Yes, it had to be exactly the way it happened. Like it's awkward, it's quirky. It kind of showed Bridget Jones growing up, like accepting the fact that like she has a thriving career now. She's not that boy crazy. I think part of her boy craziness kind of like subdued once like her and Mark Darcy relationship ended. Okay,
so a question. Maybe I wasn't paying attention when they were saying it during the film. Did they ever get married, or they just broke up?
They never got married. So there was like a little montage moment that happened that kind of So in Bridget Jones's Baby, once they
I caught that it was basically that he had no time for her.
Yes, yeah. He was always busy with work. She tried to be a part of his life. But you kind of saw it in Bridget Jones. So basically, the same problems they had in Bridget Jones' Edge of Reason, it kind of came back. Where I think for Mark Darcy, his first love will always be his job. And I think he's constantly, and he says it in Bridget Jones' Baby, that he has to save the world. Like he's trying to do all these like good things for society. In this one, he's fighting for women's rights with the whole Punani movement or whatever they called it. That's exactly what I thought the whole time. But like So there's that, and then in the second one, I don't remember what he was fighting for, what political movement, but like he's always fighting for something to make the world like
I don't
a
remember if he
just
was
place.
fighting for anything in the second one. He was just like pretty much like
Yeah, he's kind of
shaking
gone.
hands with more important individuals in the UK scene.
Yeah, and then in the first one, he was helping free somebody from like incarceration or something.
Yes, he was helping. Yeah,
So I think like he's always putting his job first, and I think as corny and as cheesy as it comes, I feel like this is a perfect example of something like if you love something, then let it go.
but if it comes back,
Then it's meant to be. And I know like with Mark Darcy and Bridget Jones, it's
unless
always
you're
like
O.J. Simpson.
it's always like a coming and going, and I think they needed that time to be separated for them to realize like
That they were meant to be.
they were meant to be, because you remember the biggest issue that we had with the second Bridget Jones is that 6 weeks passed and she became obsessed.
Yeah, the timeline, like this timeline worked for me.
Yes.
Like there's enough breathing room for me to get behind the events that are reoccurring or how these characters are going through. Where in the second one, I had a major problem with them. Like I don't blame Darcy for kind of being.
Kind of like taking a step back.
Yeah, it's kind of step back, but not even fully. Like I just felt like she was, where the first one she's dealing with society and her family's expectations for her. I feel like in the second one she was causing all the drama. She was the drama.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one that was putting herself in those sticky situations.
Yes.
Where in this one, I feel like there was so much space in between that you could buy into that. Like he kind of moved on, but he still cares for her, and she's moving on. And well, I mean, the movie starts with Hugh Grant's character. By the way, again, as always, spoilers will be discussed. So if you have not seen the third one, please just know we're going to get into spoilers. But the third one starts with a funeral for Hugh Grant's character.
Which, my biggest question
Would
is
you
like,
attend that if you're Bridget Jones and her friends? I'm like, I know she was he was a significant part of her
story.
life
I
and her
think
story,
it's weird that
but-
her friends. I have so many issues with that funeral. And the thing is, like, maybe this is where it ties in with, like, if Mad About a Boy came before, because we know Hugh Grant comes back for the fourth movie. So if they didn't, I know spoilers, so sorry, but I know if they didn't, maybe if the timelines weren't shifted, book-wise, movie-wise, maybe it would have made more sense.
Better.
But I had such a big issue, and this is one of my biggest complaints about this movie. I had a really big issue with the funeral scene. One, the friends never liked him. I don't know why they're there.
Why is Moaning Merrill there?
Yeah,
I'm like,
I don't know why like all her friends are there. And also, I understand that Mark and Daniel had a relationship in the past, like that he was his best man at his wedding.
Yeah.
But also, his wife cheated on him with him.
With Hugh Grant's character.
Why would you...
And then they fought over Bridget Jones
Twice.
in two movies.
Yes.
I felt like it was kind of like a...
Cathartic?
Yeah, it was just like a closure of that chapter.
I wouldn't go.
Well,
I would not go to my ex's funeral.
I mean, yeah, but that's reality. This is more based, I feel like, just quirkiness and putting people in weird and awkward situations, which is basically the Bridget Jones saga.
Yeah. I understand Bridget going because at this point she's single, she does not have Mark Darcy, and I think that was probably the last place she ever thought she would see him, because she even said it, what is he doing here?
Well, especially because her story basically really does take off when she's back at her job in the first one.
Yes.
And that relationship is what spearheads the events that do take place.
Yes.
So I do feel like it was a closure
I think
thing.
it's a cathartic moment for
especially
her.
since they were introducing a new love interest in this film. They didn't want to keep that door open throughout the film, because then the audience is going to be questioning, I wonder where he's at. I feel like that was just a closure for everybody, the friend group, even though it doesn't make sense for them to be. I 100% agree with you on that. But like, I feel like it was a closure for the Bridget Jones character and Darcy's character, and just everybody that was kind of affected by Hugh Grant's character in the first two. So bringing up the love interest, Patrick Dempsey.
Can I just say, Colin Firth and Patrick Dempsey, I grew up watching their movies in like the 80s, and then I obviously was not born in the 80s.
What was your introduction to Patrick Dempsey?
Oh my god, I can't remember the name of the movie.
Oh, it wasn't Grey's?
It was not Grey's.
Interesting.
It was...
Mine was Scream 3, I believe. He was in Scream 3. Yeah, he was in Scream 3. Was it Scream 2? Fuck. No, Scream 3.
Mine was
Shit.
Can't Buy Me Love.
Look this up. Pull it up, Jamie. Where was... Did he start in Scream 2 or 3?
Scream 3.
Scream 3?
Scream 3.
That was my introduction to Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah, mine was Can't Buy Me Love. So another classic movie that I watched not as a child, but that was my first introduction to Patrick Dempsey. I actually did not get into Grey's Anatomy until like season 10 came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I binge watched the first 10 seasons of Grey's Anatomy in like a month in like my college dorm room. It was a very sad time in my life, but you know, we made it happen. But they both aged like fine wine, like just watching them from like their movies from like the 80s and the 90s and just the way that they are now. Honestly, there's a reason why he's known as McDreamy. He aged so well, and so did Colin Firth. Like, he does not look bad.
Oh yeah, that was my first
for a 2016 movie.
That was my first comment while watching this film.
True.
I was like, damn, like Colin. Like we already know Patrick Dempsey, beautiful man, but like Colin aged beautifully. Like
Yes.
he looks good.
Yes.
Like he looks pretty much basically the same that he's looked in the other two films as well.
Uh-huh.
A little bit grayer, but still.
But I think it works for him.
It works for him. Yeah,
he's working like the salt. What are they called?
Pepper.
Salt and pepper look well. Like his hair. He still got his hair. He's kind of styled it in a way that kind of works for him, where he has like, you can see the grays, but it's not like all over.
Yeah.
He still has like the dark hair. I don't know if he dyes his hair or that's just what his natural hair looks like. But you know what? It looks great. And I hope more and more so people's hair looks like them.
And I will say I did enjoy Dempsey and Colin's characters' interactions.
I did.
More than I enjoyed Colin and Hugh Grant's characters' interactions.
I agree.
think there were moments like when they both find out that they both could possibly be the fathers. That's when the movie had a big uptick for me because I enjoyed the rifting off of each other.
Yes.
Like there were just so many scenes, like the moments where Dempsey keeps like grabbing them, and you could tell like.
Oh, when they pretend
Darcy
like they're like
hates
the gay couple and Bridget Jones is like their surrogate.
Yeah.
I think they had a great relationship, and I think it's very different from seeing, because you never really see Mark Darcy's character interacting with anyone else outside of like his business partners, his parents from the first one, and Bridget Jones and like her little crew. You never really see, like, you see his interaction with Daniel, but they're all very negative. Obviously they have a past, they have history, but I think it was nice to see him interacting with Jack, Patrick Dempsey's character Jack, and kind of having him bring out more to Mark Darcy's character.
Yeah, because
I feel like he brought out less seriousness. Maybe it's his jealousy
and
that helped come out.
And it fits Darcy to not have friends after what Daniel Clever did to him. It's like, why would I?
Yeah.
So to see that relationship blossom, it was pretty cool to see. Like they had their ups and their downs, and they had that moment with the condom. Which the dolphin condom. I was just looking at you like, wait, what?
I actually Googled if dolphin condoms were anything because it was just so outlandish that I was like, this is not a real thing, and it is not.
So what was the basis of it then? Was it just a way to just say she had condoms that were expired? Because that's what I took from it.
It's basically in the naturalness of who Bridget Jones' character is that she bought these dolphin condoms 10 years ago, and then her whole thing, it's like, it's organic, it's good for the environment, she's trying to do something, and then her friend was like, I was with you when you bought those 10 years ago, like, there's expired, and she's like, well, use by date does not mean anything, so that's the whole thing. So that's where she thought she couldn't get pregnant using these dolphin condoms because she thought that they don't expire. I honestly did not know condoms had an expiration date. Then again, everything in this world has an expiration date. I just never. Well, yeah, but like I just never thought about it. I thought it was just like, interesting.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is people as both of us are in our 30s right now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Bridget Jones is 43. I would assume her friends that she hangs out with at work, mid-30s.
It's hard to really tell.
You don't really know
her
much.
new boss, I can see that.
Yeah, her new boss, yes, but I meant like her friend. So, as someone in our 30s, would you go to a festival, like the festival that they went to? I remember just like sitting there watching, and I was like, yeah, maybe in my 20s I would have done this.
Was it like UK Coachella or
yeah, essentially. But it's also, I was just like, oh my god, like I can't do this. Like sleeping in a yurt, like on the ground, and like everything that just like transpired in that festival, I was just like, I'm good, and like. Also, kind of a douchey friend to not be like, hey, we're going to a music festival, you're dressed up nicely, you showed up to this muddy area in high heels, like...
Yeah.
I would just be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But like I mean I think her friend was like a good friend for her to have to kind of get her out of her miserable singleton self, as she kind of describes herself, to kind of just like open her up to like new experiences in life. Because you can also see like her current friends, they're all settled down, they're all married,
Wendy Myrtle has a baby.
Kids. She has 2.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is like, okay, 12 years happened, right, between the second and the third one.
Mm-hmm.
Were her friends, like, I don't remember her friends ever even being in like a stable relationship. Obviously we don't see that.
Well, yeah, I think time passes and they end up finding somebody.
I know, but I was just curious. I was just like, these are like terrible people in the first and the second one, and I feel like with this one, I was just interested, like, what happened to like her 2 friends, her 2 girlfriends, and like how did they come about to settling down, especially like with the blonde one. I forgot her name, but she was the one who basically almost got Bridget arrested for.
Well, she did get arrested because of the cocaine snake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I still have my theories that she knew about the drugs.
Maybe she did. I don't know, but I mean, they seem to be closer in this one.
Yeah.
She has that new friend, the news anchor.
Yeah, the one who took her to the festival. Yeah. Still, I don't think I would have gone to this festival in my 30s.
Midlife crisis? I don't know. Trying to just relive the glory days. I probably wouldn't have gone in my 20s anyways, but I didn't question it because, again, like you said, she's in her 40s. She's single. She just saw Darcy at the funeral of her ex-lover. Like,
yeah.
I think those kind of work in the moment to just be like, I need a fucking vacation to get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Obviously, like, we wouldn't go to a festival. Those days are, like, long gone, I feel like.
I can't make it through Coachella anymore.
Certain people probably would. I don't know. But yeah.
I also thought it was like in that festival, like the random inclusion of like Ed Sheeran, who was probably at the height of his career at that time.
Eddie Boy, like that was a weird cameo. I don't know.
I felt like it was just like, hey, put him in here because he's British and it's a British movie, and you don't. And he was like, this is 2016. Ed Sheeran was at like the height of his career back then. I don't know about now. Peak Sheeran, yeah. That was just a random cameo, and then you just have him like singing in like a yurt, doing like an acoustic set. And then I remembered while seeing him there when he was like performing, and I was like, oh, I forgot I actually saw him in concert that one time.
You were a big fan at one point.
I was a big fan of him at one point. I saw him perform at Staples Center, and it's literally just him and a guitar.
You mean Crypto Center? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It's always going to be Staples.
It's always going to be Staples.
Just a weird.
It was just a weird cameo. Yeah. It was just like, oh, wait, what are we doing? Like, why is that Sheeran on my screen right now in this movie? Yeah. I mean, I get it. And I guess, like, he could promote it and people would be like, oh, shit, Sheeran's going to be in this movie. So that makes sense. I can understand it, but it just threw me off completely, too. But, again, I will say I did love how they did this story. Again, it felt a little bit, it felt grounded again, and I do think it's the director. I think she knows what she's doing with Bridget Jones. I think she did a great job in the first one. She did a great job in the third one. In my opinion, she was very much missed in that second one. Yeah. I would love that she had done all 3. Obviously, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
When you're working on a franchise or whatever. But I would have loved to have seen her do all 3 because she kind of gets it. It's like it's awkward enough and it's crazy enough, but it doesn't jump the boat and go into a point of ridiculousness where you're just like, oh, you lost me, but like you just lost me, buddy. This one worked for me. I really did enjoy how they presented it, how they had Darcy and Patrick Dempsey's character Jack interact and their moments, and especially Jack being like that guy that had that website, being like, we're compatible. And I did really love that scene where he confesses to Bridget that like, oh, I told Darcy pretty much that's my kid because we didn't like use protection, or how I didn't dress it up or whatever he said. I thought it was funny.
I think I don't remember if they did or didn't, because I remember seeing the condoms in their like hookup scene in the yurt. So I don't know if he.
No, he says they did. He told her I lied to him and made it seem like the kid was mine.
Yeah, I remember that.
So he did that intentionally, and his whole thing is like, but we're compatible. And there's even a moment before that scene where Darcy's on the computer and like Kim and Bridget aren't compatible, but Bridget and Jack are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Bridget's like, paper. I'm not gonna make a decision off of like a piece of paper. Like it's just those are just statistics. Those aren't actual what somebody feels like. So I do like how they presented that very well. And then the outcome being what it was, I felt like they did a really good job.
So speaking of his algorithm, so the first thing that he says about his algorithm, we obviously don't know much about his algorithm because he gets cut off in when they're asking him about his algorithm when they're doing like his interview for him on the show. He mentions the first thing that starts off like your algorithm is, who was your first crush.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your first celebrity crush?
Celebrity crush?
Yeah. Or a real life crush. Really?
Yeah, Topanga was my first.
Danielle
Topanga and the Pink Ranger.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Selena.
Not Selena Gomez.
No, those days are over. No, Selena.
The OG Selena.
The OG Selena. Rip.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What about yours?
I'm so embarrassed by mine.
What was it?
Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. My
Aladdin.
cartoon-wise?
Cartoon-wise.
Let me
give you
take
two.
a wild guess.
Cartoon-wise. Aladdin, for sure.
Uh-huh.
Rasputin. From Anastasia.
No.
I'll go for it.
First cartoon crush, obviously Aladdin. Dimitri's a close second, but the one, my little wild card, I will put him on my hear me out cake.
Tarzan, yeah.
I loved Tarzan as a kid. I don't know why, but anyways, my first celebrity.
You ever seen that picture of like Tarzan movie where he's swinging, but you don't know where the rope's coming from, and then there's like the back, it's just his cheeks clenching the rope, and there's the vine, and you're just like hey,
double cheeked
up, man.
But my first celebrity crush.
Yeah.
Jesse McCartney.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Beautiful
Everybody
soul.
was.
I was in love with Jesse McCartney. Mm-hmm. I remember one time, I literally bought his CD, but I didn't want anyone to know I bought his CD as a kid. I don't know why.
Why?
Like, I don't know.
We're kids.
I don't know. I didn't want anyone to be like, oh my god, you have a crush on a boy. Ew.
Oh.
That kind of thing. So I bought his CD and I hid it in my Hilary Duff CD.
Jesus.
So I would put his CD in my Hilary Duff CD, and then my Hilary Duff CD was like in my CD player. If you guys remember those things, and I would just like walk around with my Hilary Duff CD, but knowing it's my Jesse McCartney CD inside it, and just do the whole little switcheroo.
Oh my god, I loved the Backstreet Boys as a kid. I went to Burger King to get the goddamn cassette of Backstreet Boys.
Oh god,
and I
even more of a throwback than a CD player.
Yeah, and I didn't even give a damn. I blasted that bad boy all day. That was my jam.
Yeah, well, I had an awkward childhood. But yeah, I honestly, I did like the addition of Jack's character.
Yes, I did too.
His whole like scientific methodology behind love and everything.
And he was a millionaire or a billionaire? He was
billionaire.
They really didn't show it, and I kind of
no, because you don't really see much about like his life outside of him doting on Bridget.
He just ended up showing up a lot, which makes sense because of obviously why. But we didn't really get to see like his side or like his perspective.
Yeah,
it was more so like I'm gonna be there and blah blah blah. And I did like that for his
I wanted
character.
a little bit more from him.
Yeah, I could have had more story arc for him.
Yeah,
because it just felt like we know where Darcy's situation is. This is the third movie with them. Jack is just kind of, we just know he has this website and he's a billionaire, but we don't really get to see him flaunt his money or be shown with it in some type of way.
Yeah, he seems
People
very
know
humble.
him. People know him, especially that moment where like Darcy and Jack could meet each other for the first time. Like Darcy's even like, oh yeah, like I've heard great things about him. I've read stuff about him, and they kind of have this acknowledgement to each other that they are both, very well respected men.
Because they both knew who each other were.
But like you don't really get much from Jack's character other than that.
Yeah, and I kind of like that, but I also kind of want more from him. Like, so much about Darcy. Obviously, this is his third movie for Bridget Jones in the Bridget Jones series.
He's now married. Yeah. Was he married to Camille?
Yes.
Or Canada?
Canada.
Candadia.
I don't even remember. Yes.
Okay, so now he's been divorced twice.
Yes. Divorced
twice.
But
there's layers there, whereas Jack kind of just shows up, hooks up with Bridget.
Yes, he's never been married.
He's never been married.
He said when they did like the interview, they asked him, her friend, the news anchor, asked him like, "Have you ever been married? What's your thought on kids?" And he's like, "I've never been married, but I would do it." Like he's kind of basically like he's never met the one for him. Yeah. And then it kind of makes me go back and think about it too. We've mentioned that they're 97% compatible. Jack and Bridget. Does he love Bridget because of Bridget, or does he love Bridget because he finally found somebody who's compatible with him?
In my opinion on that, I think it's because of the numbers and the algorithm and because he's the one that tells her that like we have to be together. It's like the computer told us. Like it's basically all there. We're a perfect match, and she's just like, that's not how that works.
I agree.
That's not
I
how
agree.
that any of that works.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, her love was for
Darcy.
And she's like, she said in that scene too, she's like, yes, I have loved him. And he asks her straight up, like, do you love me? And it's basically like, I could.
And I think it's like a cathartic moment for him to essentially like realize like for him to realize like, yes, he does. I don't think he loves her. I think he's in love with the idea of Bridget.
Of her being the one.
But I don't think like him being 97% compatible. Will he always be there for her when times get messy? Like you see him, like he goes to all of these parenting classes. He's there to save her when she almost drowns, like in the pool, or just Bridget just being Bridget. He's always around. And I think he's in love with the idea of it, and he wants to get that statistic to work. But that other 3% where they're not compatible, I feel like that would have made the biggest difference in their relationship if he saw like the messier side. Like obviously Darcy's seen all Bridget through and through.
He didn't get the full Bridget Jones experience like Darcy
Yes, he did not. Yes, Darcy got the awkward, the
he
boy
hadn't
obsessed.
even really, I don't remember, I don't think he really ever met her family either.
No.
Oh, I fucking still hate the mother. I gotta be honest.
I have a question for you about the mom, but we'll get to it in a bit.
And what is she, running for mayor or some shit?
Parish? Something like that?
I don't know. I was like, what is this, the fucking Batman where the penguin's running for mayor? I'm like, this is terrible. I'm like, I don't want to see this lady on TV. Like,
No.
I'm like, she's just like the worst character in this entire film.
I agree.
Or franchise.
I have my issues with the mom, but we'll get into it when we get into it. I think, like, for Jack, that, like, awkward, like, 3% is, like, what would have happened if, like, obviously, like, he didn't get, like, he's never seen alcoholic Bridget, like Mark Darcy has. I don't know if she's given up alcohol. She knows she's given up cigarettes. She was a chain smoker in the first two. Clingy. He doesn't get to experience the Bridget Jones craziness, or as you said it, the Bridget Jones experience. He doesn't get to see that. And then I feel like this is how you see like Bridget Jones grew up a little bit, is that she's not clingy with Jack the same way she was, obviously, like 9 months. She's been with Jack.
Yeah.
For a
because
certain
I really don't think in this film that she was particularly looking for a relationship again. She was more concerned about having the baby and finding out who the father was.
Yes.
I think that was the ongoing theme. But then she realizes that Darcy is the love of her life. And Darcy realizes that too eventually. And you do have that moment when she's having the kid where he's just like, I will love the baby no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's genuine love.
It's genuine love.
I don't care. Like, I love you and I want to be a part of your life. And that's the difference between the two. Whereas Dempsey's character, Jack, had to lie to Darcy to get him away.
Yeah.
Whereas Darcy was more so like, I'll accept it no matter what. And I think that was the big difference between the two of them, because like you said, one is trying to make the numbers to prove his point and to prove his algorithm and his site, where Darcy doesn't have that. Darcy just genuinely loves this woman and wants to be with her. Granted, we didn't see what happened, why they broke up. We get little tidbits of him being busy.
Yeah, she just says, like, she's more alone than she is with him.
And the whole time thing does come back up, because there's that scene where her water breaks and he throws the phone. And the worst timing ever, because they still need a taxi and everything.
Dude, it's the most Bridget Jones. Like, I was telling you while we were watching it. There's no way in my mind that I picture Bridget Jones's water breaking than the way it happened, like, on screen. It was the most perfect Bridget Jones-y, like, pregnancy, water breaking, having to have a pizza delivery man take you to the hospital.
I thought she was gonna end up having it at the Italian restaurant. I thought that was gonna be the end game. Like, there was gonna be like an oven, and like they were gonna like, not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it's just so random. But
I do have a problem with the scene of them going to the hospital, though.
Why?
I understand why he has to carry.
Yeah.
I understand why Darcy has to carry her.
Yeah.
But why is Jack not calling anybody? Why is Jack just rolling up in his bike and be like, I'll carry her too? Not like, I just called the paramedics. Where are you guys at? I'm on the way. I'll be there. He just pulls up in his bike, and they both, I know it's a funny moment.
Yeah.
Seeing the both of them have to carry her to the hospital, so I can get over it not being realistic, because of the moment that ends up happening where they're trying to get into the hospital door and they just lay her on the counter in the hospital. They're like, there's a wheelchair right there.
Yeah.
But there was a part of me, I'm like, why not just like
I think
make a phone call?
I know they didn't explain it and everything, but in my mind, the way that I saw it, why the car did not work. Obviously, you cannot put a pregnant woman on a motorcycle. Like, how are you gonna hold on?
Tire in the front. No,
I think it has to do with like the women's march. Like that's why her mom couldn't make it on time.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I assume it's like, oh, the women's march, motorcycle.
Oh, so he was able to.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
So I think that's what I assume. It's just the Punani movement or whatever. Movement. That's what they call it.
Again, I'm not trying to like overthink it. Comedy.
It's Bridget Jones,
it's
like
comedy.
It's the most Bridget Jones's way to do it, and I think the entire like pregnancy, everything that happened for the way it is, her not knowing who the father of the child is, her trying to hide the
or her hooking up with two guys in the span of like what, a few weeks.
Yeah,
that's
the Bridget Jones.
And her getting pregnant is just like,
and then her having to like kind of like finesse her way because she can't figure out how to say it, but also, honestly. Props to Bridget Jones because she has some great friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the friends that she's had, like from when the first movie came out till this one, who are willing to drop everything to just do what Bridget Jones wants. Like you see when they invite Patrick Dempsey, and she's like, "We need to steal his DNA to find out if he's the father of my child."
Oh yeah.
Her friend goes, cuts his hair while he's like sitting on the makeup chair, his nails, and then it's just like. Puts it all in a baggie to kind of get it. And then basically the news anchor lady basically almost throws away her job interviewing Patrick Dempsey. Like, it's love life for Bridget.
Do you think Bridget gets her job back? Because they don't really acknowledge that. It kind of goes like a year later.
I think I would like to say no.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Bridget now solely focuses on motherhood. She finally has Mark Darcy in her life. I mean, I guess we have to watch Mad About a Boy to find out.
That's true. Yeah.
To find out. But I also could kind of see Bridget doing her own thing. Maybe
she's gotta go her own way.
She's gotta go her own way. Such a good song. Like doing her own thing. Maybe she starts her own business. Maybe she does like her consulting. I don't even know. Maybe Bridget Jones takes her diary and makes a blog out of it and blogs about motherhood.
I do love how the diary now is just like the notes on iPad. I thought that was funny. I thought that was nice.
She adapted with the times. She adapted with the times. I think just like everything in general, just such like a Bridget Jones. Like if like Bridget Jones being pregnant, this is exactly the way it would have gone. And I agree. And I think this was a very grounded film. This showed Bridget Jones as Bridget Jones. It showed Bridget Jones not running off to Thailand with your ex-boyfriend. Obviously, he's dead.
Yeah, that's one other thing. The way the film ends, they're treating Daniel Clever as like Thanos of the Bridget Jones MCU.
Because then again, you have to realize,
I know
it's technically not the ending of Bridget Jones.
Ending, but it just made me laugh. Just like one of the last shots of this film is literally a newspaper clipping on the bench where it's like Playboy found alive, and it's just like, okay, like all right, Voldemort.
She's also very timely for all these plane crashes. I'm so sorry.
It's not funny, dude. I'm not gonna go. Okay, anyways. But
yeah,
I was like, okay, it just made me chuckle because I'm like, all right. I expected the fucking newspaper to move.
Oh yeah.
Like in Hogwarts and stuff. So I was just like, oh shit. But
yeah.
Now that does it, as insane as it's gonna sound, it did actually get me interested for the next one because I'm like, is he coming back with a vengeance, dude? Like,
maybe. Well,
yeah,
I guess we'll find out. Guess we'll find out. She has some very weird pregnancy cravings in this movie, which I mean most pregnant women do, but her pregnancy craving, which sent her to the hospital for gas, was because she had pickles, barbecue sauce, and Pringles, and something else that I can't remember. I think like anchovies or something, which I'm like, oh, that's so nasty.
Yeah, but
you crave what you crave.
You crave what you crave. Yeah, exactly.
So weird. Another question for you.
Yeah.
Who do you think would have made a better match for Bridget? Out of all the three men that we've been introduced.
Three men? No, Daniel. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's. I feel like had she met Jack first, they would have been get together.
Okay.
If that would have been in the first one, but I feel like the story is so far gone that when he does try to come in, and for the reasonings that he wants to be with her, I feel like it's Darcy. I think at the end of the day, they always find their way back to each other. Because it's meant to be at that point. Like, they have now gone through so many hoops and trials and tribulations that at the end of the day, they are the ones that end up getting married together. So I do think Darcy was her one.
Yes.
And there was no numbers or statistics to back it up. It just, that's the way the world made it work. You know, she, from the first one where they don't get along in the beginning, to the second one where she's in the jail cell in Taiwan and he has to go bail her out, to now this one where he gets married to somebody else, but then he ends up getting her pregnant and they find their way to be together. And maybe it was having the kid, having William. Maybe that was what really brought it all together, but I do think Darcy was the one for her.
I'm very conflicted. As much as I love Mark Darcy, I think at the end of the day, Mark Darcy is Bridget's soulmate. Part of me wants to be like, after 3 failed attempts, is the 4th time going to be enough? Will the 4th time work?
I don't know. Ask Ben Affleck and J-Lo.
Aren't they back together?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't give a fuck about them. They're weird. I think, and it goes back to it, like, I think with, like, Mark Darcy, the reason why it failed a 3rd time was because of exactly the 2nd time and the 1st time. He's always going to choose his work. And...
Which is a recurring theme
in all 3. And then you can even see it, like, a little bit, like, during the pregnancy, like, he wasn't available because...
Or he was running late.
He was running late because he had work. He was in court, or he was this and this and this. And I think he loves Bridget, but I think part of him will need to learn how to balance work and Bridget. Maybe it's... I don't want it to be like the whole, like I think back to La La Land. You can't have your love life and you can't have your dream job.
Well, I think that's why La La Land is so awesome, is because they have to make that sacrifice, because they just, it's not the time. It's not the time. It's not right for them.
And maybe now it is the time for Bridget and Mark Darcy. However, I really did love Jack. I think Jack was a great addition to Bridget's story. He's quaint, he's quirky, he's funny, and he just fits into Bridget. He was the one who, he molded his life to fit Bridget's life.
Yeah, I had no issue with him whatsoever. It was his reasoning that bothered me more than anything. But as a guy, he just seemed like a very chill dude that just wanted to be there for her.
For her
genuinely
and his
would
potential
drop
baby.
anything to be part of that kid's life and her life, and would do whatever she wanted to do. Well, he even offered to, like, let's move in together.
Yes.
Let's do this. Like, he was ready to do just whatever it took to make it work. It was the reasoning behind his actions that did not end up working, for me at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's probably one of my favorite characters in this entire franchise now, or in this saga. I liked...
He was a great addition.
He was a great addition. I did like him I liked his character way more than Hugh Grant's character, but that's supposed to happen because Hugh Grant's character is just a pervert. Whereas Jack just seems like a guy that has his life in order and knows what he wants, and they would have been a good couple, but like you said, he didn't get to see the bad sides of Bridget, and we don't know how that would have played out.
Yes.
Whereas Darcy, been
3%.
there, done that.
He knows.
And there is that moment in the film, like, his work is a big issue, but he does tell her, I'm tired of saving the world. You are my world. Yeah. And I was like, that's the realization for Darcy and the growth of the character.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's her guy. That's the one she's meant to be with.
To me, one of the things that I like that Mark Darcy did is that he realized, he picks up the sweater, and you get like the flashback from the first Bridget Jones movie when you first see when Bridget and Mark first like have their interactions together, and he like walks over to her apartment, tries to like meet her, find her and everything, sees her in the trash, helps her and everything. It is the most un-Mark Darcy like thing for him to do, to punch the glass on that door and unlock that door for her.
I mean, he already broke a glass before in the first one. Remember him and Daniel go through the window?
Oh, yeah,
at that one restaurant?
But that's him fighting for Bridget, and I think this one, it's just... But then I also think
Fight or flight. She's pregnant.
Yeah. But then I also think back, did he actually love Bridget, or did he want to be with Bridget because his ex-best friend wants Bridget?
I think... we're going back to the first one now.
I'm just thinking, like, I'm thinking, like, throughout everything.
He saw how much of a good time she is, and how unserious she is. And the woman that he was with in the first one felt like, my parents love her, It's all business. I'm gonna be in this cycle of business, and it's never gonna end. Whereas Bridget is the wild card, and potentially I would want that. Do I think it played a part that Hugh Grant's character was also with her? I'm sure. I mean, obviously, yeah, he slept with his wife. It's the reason why he got a divorce.
Yeah.
So I could see that being a reason, but I do think there were scenes where like they're at the same party when they're on that little boat.
Yeah.
And he's just looking at that. And I think part of Darcy, as cold as he is, as like serious as he is, he does want the craziness and the wild card of
He stuck
life.
through it all.
Yeah, and I think he just wanted that. And I think he tried to tame it in the second one, and that's where things kind of just fell apart for the both of them. Where I think now, more so, he just loves her for who she is.
Yeah.
And he knows what it is. He knows the game. He knows how she is. And they're at that point of their life. It just took a while to get there, that they're ready to make that a partnership.
I think, and I agree with you. I know we mentioned how great, oh my God, what's his name? Patrick Dempsey's character was, Jack. I actually really liked Emma Thompson's character too. The doctor.
Oh, she was fantastic.
She was fantastic.
She was great. I think
another
she had
British royalty.
She had a great moment in that movie where she's trying to tell Bridget, like, just do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Like, screw both of them. Like, if I did it by myself, she was like, you could do it too. And I liked that. It was just like, you don't have to like stress over who's the father. You could just do this solo. But then also, she's very like funny. She has a lot of funny, especially when Bridget's about to have a baby. And she's just like very like.
Oh, I was wondering which father's gonna come. Glad to see both.
Family reunion.
Yeah, I think she was a great addition. She provided a lot of like comedy, a lot of like crude humor, like a lot
comedy.
of like a lot of dirty British jokes that she dropped like throughout the movie. I think Emma Thompson was a great addition to the movie. I think she was funny, and then and then I think about it too. The same way that Bridget Jones was able to convince her friends to do all these crazy things, she basically got a doctor to do the same things too. Like, what is the power of Bridget Jones, and how can I get the people around me to do what I want them to do?
Another thing too, soundtrack was phenomenal. Loved the soundtrack. I think this is my favorite of the three.
So good.
The first one's really good. Second one took a little bit of nosedive, had a little bit of an uptick than the second act of the film. Yeah. This one throughout the film just had banger after banger
you have
after
two
banger.
Ed Sheeran songs.
Didn't you say you had like 5 songs from this movie on your fucking phone?
Yeah, I did. I pulled up my phone and I was like showing him. I was like, I've actually had these songs. You have the Ellie Goulding, the song that she wrote for the movie, Still Falling for You. That one's good. But the one I actually really like, and probably my favorite song from this soundtrack, is the Reignite one, where it plays when Mark Darcy and Bridget are hooking up again after their Gangnam Style dance or whatever thing that they did.
Yeah, that was rough.
That's actually my favorite song from the soundtrack. I know I overplayed. No, the Reignite one.
Oh.
That one was a weird addition, but you know, it's fine. Let's talk about your favorite character in this movie. Let's talk about Bridget Jones's mom. Do you think she's a good mom?
Terrible mother.
You think so?
Terrible mother, terrible wife to her father. Just awful person who just seems to be egotistical and only cares about her and herself and her self-preservance. Even when Bridget tells her that she's pregnant, her just like random wild comments that she gives to Bridget. It just doesn't seem like a mother that's very supporting. Obviously, they try to bring it back in the ending there where it's like, Mom, we're going to be... Even then, when she says like, we're going to be grandmom, like grandparents, it's
grandmom.
Yeah, and it's just like what? She's just a really one of the most despicable characters I've ever seen in any movie ever, dude. She's in the top 5 list of some of the most despicable characters I've ever seen. She's so bad. But I think that's why she's written it, because I think she's a part of Bridget's life, which is why Bridget acts sometimes the way she acts. So she does elevate the character of Bridget Jones, but character-wise, I could not stand her.
I agree with you. I think for someone who's been saying, like, you know, Bridget, women have kids on their own all the time. You don't need a man to have a kid nowadays. And for your daughter to finally tell you that she's pregnant and your first reaction to be like, let's hide you behind this while we're taking, like, family photos because, you know.
Yeah, and who's the other girl that comes in and she's like, oh, you're pregnant. We just
her mom's, like, friend.
Yeah, dude, they're terrible, bro. Like, all the people in Bridget's life are, like, terrible fucking people. And that's why I'm just like, dude, like, Kirk off, like, just a slap to the face kind of comment where it's just like, oh, we thought you were just fat again. And it's just like, what, dude? Like,
yeah, it was kind of sad.
That was just such a, like, offhanded, like, bad comment that it just bothered me. It just makes me feel bad for Bridget Jones, which I'm sure that's why they did it. So I did appreciate that because it's the character growth. But yeah, just like I don't feel like anybody was really that celebratory about her pregnancy. I feel like some of her friends were, her dad was, because when she had that conversation with the dad solo. But like your mom saying that, and like your mom's friend saying that, dude, that's like, then bye. You're never gonna see my kid like ever. Like,
yeah, I think her dad keeps her grounded. I do love Bridget's dad. I think her mom is always thinking about her and like her image and how can she do certain things. But I do feel like she comes to Bridget's aid at the very end, where she was there. I mean, everyone missed the birth of the baby because of the Punani movement.
And then again, like I said, like she tells the audience, we're gonna be a grandmom. It's like, so it's about you.
It's always
it's
about
not
her.
Even about like, oh, my daughter's having a baby, we need to go.
Kind of interested to know if her parents are in the fourth one.
It's gonna be like that scene in The Grinch when they have them in the chair of cheers. And these two adopted moms come. It's like, are they still living? That's going to be that moment if they're still in the fourth one.
Yeah, guess we'll have to watch it and find out. So my last take on this movie. So we find out father of the baby.
Yes.
Mark Darcy. Obviously, Bridget and the end of the movie is a year passes.
1 year later.
1 year later, Mark and Bridget finally are getting married. Even like the priest who...
I did like that scene though, where she's walking down the aisle and the first person you see is not the first person you see, but the person that stands out is Jack and William. And I'm like, oh, nice little twist there, because that's what you think and that's what's gonna happen, which is weird because why would whatever?
They basically become best friends.
Well, no, I'm saying, why is Jack standing in front of them? Shouldn't Darcy technically be the one standing there?
I think it's just...
I mean, I get it, but I think they did that for that reason. I think that was the twist, to be like, oh, she ended it up. Like, if you don't know spoilers, they're just like, oh my gosh, ended up with McDreamy. And then you have that moment where Darcy comes from behind them, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I get that. I like the little thing that even like the priest goes like, and they're fine. I finally pronounce you husband and wife.
I do also like that, like, we don't know whose kid it is until after the wedding. Yeah. Because you're even like, have they said? And I'm like, no, until Darcy's like, what are you doing with my son?
Yeah, didn't Mamma Mia it, where they kind of leave it up to the audience to kind of like...
Like, who, it could be one of the three. Yeah. Does the Skarsgård, is he going to take him to Arrakis? I don't know. But so I did like how they did that. I like how they teased it, but then they had a conclusion to it. Yes. I hate when they tease and they leave the door open because it's like, oh god, like you could have just sealed and dealt it there.
Agreed. I want the way that the movie ended. I wanted Mark and Bridget to be married, obviously. I kind of wanted the baby to be Jack's.
Really?
I want the baby to be Jack, because that way it explains, I feel like it ties it up loosely where, in a perfect way, where he's always going to be around. Bridget's always going to want to keep him, and then it kind of keeps him in the family because he plays with the baby, he's taking care of the son. Like, I kind of feel like it would have added like a good storyline for him to kind of just always be involved. But then also I kind of would have liked,
it would have elevated. If you
had someone,
it would have elevated Darcy's character as well, for him being like, I love this woman so much, I don't care.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think I would have liked that, where he was like, he told her like, I will love that baby
no matter what.
Like as if it's my own. And I think it would have been a nice addition to kind of like keep Jack around.
But I don't think they thought they were gonna make a fourth one when they finished this one. I feel like this one had like such a storybook ending. But then who knows? Because then you end up with that paperclip at the end, and it's just like.
But then again, you also have to think. So to me, this is the perfect way to end Bridget Jones' story. Yes. Obviously, that's how it ends in the book series. This is the last book. So then, I'm assuming that's why they had like that paperclip where Daniel Cleaver died. Ooh, look, he's magically alive. A year later, we found him wherever he was, right?
Thanos.
And then you have Mad About a Boy. I don't know how Mad About a Boy ends. I've never seen it.
Well, it just came out.
It just came out, so definitely want to check it out.
I've heard nothing of it.
Yeah, I've heard some things.
No, of course.
But certain people like to spoil it for me. However, I honestly would have enjoyed having this be like, if I never knew the conclusion to Bridget Jones, this is how Bridget Jones' story should have ended.
That is my fear going into the fourth one when we do eventually watch. Is I don't think they're gonna stick the landing like this one stuck it.
No.
Where it's like she's happy, she's married now, she has a kid now. Everything that she was missing out on in the first two films, it is now concluded into this moment where she finally marries Darcy. Jack is now friends with Darcy. Her family, her friends are there. She gets to celebrate. She has that moment where like her, what's the thing called, the white thing that they wear?
A veil.
The veil flies off and she just laughs, and then it's like cool, and then we get the random newspaper clipping that
Daniel's alive.
that Daniel's alive, and you're just like, okay, kind of like a wet fart.
Yeah.
To me, because I'm just like, I didn't need that, but okay. But then I do think at that point they're like, we're probably gonna do a fourth one at some point.
But I also wonder, like, why did it take them
9 years to release it? Because this one came out in 2016. So yeah, it took 9 years to do a fourth installment.
Especially like
the gaps are wild.
Yeah.
Not the first two.
Consistent.
They're 2001, 2004, 3 years, but then 13 years to get to the third one.
Yeah.
And then 9 years to get to the fourth one. Because I just think it's a story that you can keep writing, especially because now we're going to see. The only thing I will say is this with the fourth one. I'm very interested to see how she is as a mother.
Yes.
Hating how much her mom was. Mm-hmm. So I'm very intrigued to see how the yin yang and the differences between her mothering and how her mother was. I'm very interested to see how they pulled that off. But yeah, as a conclusion, I think it was great.
I think it was a perfect way to end it.
And again, very grounded, not ridiculous. We didn't need to see Bridget go on some mission in some other country to bring it back all around to something else. It was like she had her mission at this stupid Coachella, wannabe Coachella thing, and then she came back, and then the events unfolded, but it was still grounded. Mm-hmm. It was still very much presented the way it was presented.
Yes. Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's go for it. Go for it first. Ladies first.
So I know we mentioned this earlier in this episode. I am very conflicted on which Bridget Jones movie I like the most. I mean, this one, Renee Zellweger does a phenomenal job bringing Bridget Jones back to life almost, 20 years later. She does a perfect job portraying Bridget Jones. It made me honestly fall in love with her character all over again. And her as an actress. Like, I want to go and watch other Renee Zellweger movies now. I think, yes, great movie. This was a good way for them to kind of revive the series. I know we mentioned it. Make it true to the original story from the first one. We got it back grounded. I think it did a great job of like continuing the outlandish ways of Bridget Jones, but keeping it mellow. Like, you have Bridget now who's prioritizing her baby over a man, over her job and everything, and she's trying to do as much as she possibly can to be a good mother, to keep her promise to the baby. Obviously, she has her trials and tribulations. This movie does not go over the top like the second one did, of them going to Thailand and the whole drug possession and the cocaine and the singing like a virgin in the jail cell. I feel like this movie just never ceases to fail me with like its humor and like its crudeness, and like Renee Zellweger just did an amazing job. I think it was a very entertaining movie. It's Bridget Jones to still be Bridget Jones. She's more mature, but she's still awkward. She's still who Bridget Jones is. I still like I really want it to be the last Bridget Jones movie because I think it's a perfect way to end it. I'm gonna go a 4 out of 5 for this one.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if it's the same as the rating for the first one.
No, I want to say you gave it like a 3.5. Maybe you gave it a 4. I don't really recall what you gave it, but
guess we'll have to find out.
Watch the tapes. We'll play it back and see what we gave it.
I'm gonna give it a 4.
We'll probably put like a comment underneath and say that you gave Bridget Jones this, and you gave the second one that, and you gave this one this. So 4. Okay. I gave Bridget Jones a 3.5, and I believe I gave the second one like a 2 or a 1.5. I don't remember. I want to say it was a 2 though. So love the director coming back because I really enjoyed this film. I thought Patrick Dempsey and Colin Firth were great. I thought Renee Zellweger was amazing again once as Bridget Jones portraying that character. She did a fantastic job. All the side characters, they had their moments. They like the mom still hate her. Very grounded, awesome soundtrack. I'm at a 3.5. At the same score as Bridget Jones because it felt the same way. I felt the same way I felt watching the third one as I felt watching the first one. Just an enjoyable movie that you could just sit back and kind of just get into and kind of see what the payoff was going to be, which was who the father was. So I really enjoyed it. So I am at a 3.5 out of 5.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. Well, let's close this episode off. Everybody, make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below. Let us know what you think of the Bridget Jones saga. If you've seen any of them, or if you've even seen the new one, let us know what you think of the brand new Bridget Jones movie. We'd love to hear your guys' opinion, and of course, we'll give you a shout out in the very next episode. Hit that notification button so you guys are notified whenever we drop a very new episode of Podcast Sequel, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, the podcast, a show so sublime. Marissa, Mooney, Joseph, and Ryan signing off with glee. Join us next episode for more sequel revelry.